The first piece of legislation we have is HCR 20 by Representative Sam Jones. And Representative Jones said he was not going to be at the Capitol today, but this is something that we need to bring attention to. I know Senator Mizell has had resolutions. I think she has one coming this year. And it has to deal with the windfall elimination provisions and the government pension offset. Being on retirement, I know you get calls, and members of the legislature always get calls on this item. To me, it is a travesty that someone who is paid into Social Security, their benefits are reduced, or if their spouse is paid in, that they are penalized simply because they have a pension from the state. I have asked Dana Vickner with TRSL to come forward and sort of give a background of how they see it from the teachers' retirement system. I know this is a bill that I've co-authored already with Senator Mizell. It's something I think to send to our congressional members. All of us need to consider co-authoring. But Ms. Vickner, thank you for coming to retirement and walking us through how important this is and the potential out there to get this fixed at the congressional level.
Certainly. Thank you for having me. Dana Vickner, Director of Teachers Retirement System. First, I want to thank Representative Jones, even though he's not here, for presenting this resolution. Teachers Board hasn't taken a position on this strictly due to timing of when the bill was filed, and of course it's going through the committee hearings and our board hasn't met, but we have supported such resolutions in the past. GPO and WEP are big Social Security offsets that were passed in the early 80s. GPO was first, and it came in 1982, and that is the government pension offset. That offsets any pension a spouse would maybe receive and who has participated in a non-participating governmental plan. And the windfall elimination provision came in 1986, and that's the impact to your own Social Security. If you don't have enough quarters, you either do not receive it or you get reductions. For Louisiana, the Congressional Research Services did a study that was recently updated, and we have about 42,000 plus recipients in Louisiana that are impacted by the WEP, and we have another 36, almost 37,000 that are impacted by the GPO. Of that almost 37,000, over 62% have a full offset of their spousal Social Security benefits. Yeah. Teachers in the state of Louisiana receive an average of $26,737 a year. A lot of these, actually 81.5% of our membership are women. So they have spouses that are typically working in the private sector for the most part. So when it comes time they receive their retirement from teachers, they may or may not receive any Social Security from their spouse. So it is a big issue for our system and a lot of systems in the state. Louisiana is actually one of 7 states where the majority of their public employees do not participate in Social Security. Every state has public employees that don't participate, but we are one of 7 where most of ours do not. So it is a big issue for Louisiana. This issue has come up on Capitol Hill a lot during the past. It has been filed several times for the repeal. There's been several resolutions filed for modifying the benefit formula, particularly for WEP, not so much GPO. Those bills have never made it out, and basically that's because there's a cost at the federal level to pay these benefits. There is a current House resolution that 141 that was filed and introduced in Congress in January. At last look, I think 3 of our congressmen have signed on as co-authors for that, and we hope the rest do. But given the situation and the funding to be able to repeal this, more than likely, as in the past, it will not get anywhere. But we do support that any repeal or any modification that would definitely benefit our members and all public employees who don't participate in Social Security.
Okay. Senator Mizell?
Thank you for sharing that. I'm just curious if you think your members would support an incremental shift where it was, because when I've talked to the congressional delegation, they say the only way it's even feasible because of financially would be to do it in small bites at a time. You know, shift maybe 15% of it, then add 15 more. So what, I'm just curious if your members would.
Our members would be supportive of any measure that would
any
actually
shift
provide
at
them
all.
more benefits.
Because
Yes.
that's how
even
I thought.
incrementally.
I
yes.
thought just to acknowledge at all that there needs to be a shift taking place is a huge, that's a win. That's a
Yes.
win. Just to make them say that we've got to do better with this. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and Representative Jones, thank you for being here. We started without you. We didn't. From our text message, I didn't think you were going to be here. But if you'd like to say anything on your resolution, it's a very. I thank you for doing it again this year. I did co-author, so did Senator Mizell. It is something that we do need to bring attention to, and that this legislature is adamant about getting it fixed. But the fix is from the federal level. So, welcome and
Thank you, Senator. As a young mayor back in Franklin in the early 1980s, I ran across this unexpectedly because that's about when it got changed. It was changed in the early 80s when in a bipartisan way, with President Reagan and the Speaker of the House from Massachusetts, I can't think of his name, Tip O'Neill. The two Irishmen got in the back room and they drank some whiskey and worked this out. Aww. I guess. It could have been Diet Coke, Senator. I think I read it was whiskey. Yeah, but what I learned in my town, we were only in the state. In the MERS pension system, but upon recognizing and speaking with my city council, we actually joined Social Security, and so we ended up having both, which was a way to fix the government pension offset. You can work off the penalty on the government pension offset after you have 20 years of substantial earnings per year. You can knock off 80% of the penalty. And if you earn 30 years of substantial earning, you can get rid of all of the penalty. And I can tell you that works because I did it. And last month I got my first Social Security check without a penalty. But often it's too late. When you get to be 45 years old or something, you start checking on that and you recognize, well, you can't go back and get those years. So there's a way to fix it in each of these governments. So I won't admit that we're totally incapable of doing that. We did have, at the state level, we did have an effort 2 year, maybe the second year of Governor Jindal's last administration, where we were talking about doing a hybrid or something like that. But the numbers are very difficult, Senator Mizell. They're very difficult to work. But I was curious to ask you, when you said your solution might be to what, to move it or
Federal government.
I know, but what was the idea? I wasn't.
The idea was that they would gradually transition away from the WIP and the GPO.
And pay for it how?
Oh, I don't know. God,
That's for them to
do
decide.
not know that.
Yeah, I thought you had a magic.
No, I'd
Rumpelstiltskin was in the back room with some
I'd be
straw.
sitting here
And,
if I had magic.
I think the only way to work that out might be with a very, very small incremental over time, like 1/100th of 1% increase that both the employee would pay and the employer would pay. That's the only way I think we could do it. But other than that, I mean, we're just basically memorializing once again to the Congress something, senators, that should be done, because by and large, it's not fair for people to pay and really not be able to get that back.
Okay. Well, we do have some cards in favor of. I'd like to read. We have Nick Felton with the Louisiana AFL-CIO is present, would like to speak. We had, you wait, okay. Ed Parker with the AFS-LME is in favor but not wishing to speak. Shane Riddle with LAE is present, will provide information if requested. Rodney Watson is present, will provide information if requested. He's with LRTA. We have Adam Kemple with firefighters is in favor but not wishing to speak. Andrew Mole with AARP is present but not wishing to speak. Frank Jobert with the Retired State Employees Association is present but not wishing to speak. And Cynthia Posey is present and will provide information if requested. Here for information purposes only is Cindy Rougeau, Executive Director of Lasers, will provide information if requested. And of course, Dana Vickner with Teachers Retirement System of Louisiana. So thank you very much. The board is clear. Senator Long moves favorable on HCR 20. Representative Jones, thank you very much. Is there any opposition to the motion? Here, no opposition. HCR 20 is reported favorably.